Hello, Chill Computer Guy. Today we're in Propellerhead Reason 10. We're going to take a look at the umpf. This is the new drum machine, drum computer, drum designer, sample player, whatever you want to call it. There it is. There's the umpf right there. And you can see we have 8 individual pads, and they're kind of stacked vertically. You know, they're not in a grid like most drum racks, so that's a little different. Now, if you click this button here, this will play the sample. There you go. And then on the far right, this little icon here that lights up, that's telling you which sample you have selected. That's handy. And of course, each sample you have the option, you can mute it or solo it. So if you have some MIDI data in here, you can mute and solo certain parts. You have the option to send this to the compressor or to the clean. So I assume maybe there's a dry signal. I think the whole idea here is if you have this compressor icon lit, basically means you're doing parallel compression. It's going to send half of it to the compressor and half of it to, I guess, a dry signal or a clean signal. I guess is what that means. And of course, if you have neither one of these clicked, I don't know what that means. Oh, okay, that makes sense. So we're just hearing the return, I guess. Well, that's kind of nice. So it automatically, if none of these are clicked, you're just hearing the return. The clean is the dry signal, and then that is going to bring it to basically parallel compression. So you have the option of hearing just the return. Okay, so that basically covers the 8 pads there, and then each one has its individual volume. And then to the right of that, you can see a waveform of each individual sample. And so this is like any other Reason device. You can drag samples from the browser right onto these different pads. You know, just like that. You can drag them right on. And so just like any other device, you can go ahead and take these samples and drag them right on. Jesus Christ. So this is just like any other device in Reason. You can go ahead and grab a sample. You can drag it right onto the pad. So you can drag samples onto individual pads. Let's go ahead and Control-Z that. Or you can load them using this icon here, or you can actually record your own samples right here. Let's go ahead and Control-Z that. And then, of course, you can edit your sample with the sample editor here. You can go ahead and edit your sample. So that's kind of nice. That's kind of cool. The sample editor is still the same sampler editor we've had since, what, Reason 3, I think, or something? I don't know. So nothing different there. So basically what you got here is you got your 8 drum sounds. You have a visual representation of the waveform. And then what's nice about this is you have an envelope right there. You can go ahead and click and drag these, or you can adjust down here. You have an attack, a hold, and a release. Not only that, but you can control your fine-tuning of your drum sample right here, which is kind of nice if you need to get your drum in key. You can control your starting point of the sample. And so that's kind of nice to be able to get that real precise there. Get that transient just right in where it needs to go. Now you can also control which key is triggering your sample. This is very useful if you want to put your MIDI information in, or your MIDI information is not quite lined up with, let's say, your kick drum or your snare drum. Now, you can also do this in Kong. I actually prefer the way it works in Kong better as far as with the drum assignment grid. But it's nice to be able to select which key is triggering your sample. Your velo, which is your velocity sensitivity, I'm guessing is what this is. So it's 0. It doesn't matter how hard you hit the key. Every drum hit is going to be consistent. So that's kind of nice to be able to control that if you want a real robotic feel, or increasing this will give you, you know, any variation in the plane will be magnified if you increase this. You have the option to play your sample in reverse, which I guess can be handy. And then you can group. You can also group these, group 1, group 2, group 3. Let's say if I put this into group 1, and then I take pad 2 and put that into group 1. Now I'm guessing both of them will play. No? 1, why are they both not playing? Okay, I don't really understand how the group works. Now, as you can see, this is half and half. Half of this is going to be green, and then half of it is going to be this darker, I guess, metal gray or darker color. So basically, what you got to remember is everything in the green is basically local. And then on the far right, you have a chop, a delay, and a reverb. This is the amount that you're basically sending to that effect. And then you can, of course, pan each individual drum sound. You can control the volume of each individual drum sound. We can also send them to a bus, which is basically the bus compressor. And then we can also send this to a clean chain as well. So that's going to be basically be a dry signal with no effects whatsoever. Now, as far as the EQ, you have a high and low cut for each individual sample, and you also have a bit crusher for each additional sample. So something about the high and low cut filter and the bit crusher is if you click on clean and send this to the clean bus, that is post EQ and post bit crusher. So those effects are still going to affect this clean signal. So that's something very important to remember. Now, what I like about this is the fact that you can kind of, it's really good at not only parallel compression as far as having the compressor built right in, but it's also, I like the idea that you could put 8 different samples in here and they're all going to basically be sent to the same 4 effects. That's going to give your drum sound a very cohesive feel to it. It's very similar to the thing that I recommend with all drum performances is using send and returns and sending all the drums to at least a tiny bit of reverb just to kind of make it sound like they're all being played in the same room. And this plugin does that actually very well. Now, if we look on the far right, these are all the global effects here. We have this chop, which is kind of I don't know, it's kind of a weird kind of delay gate type of effect. It's a little different. It's very, I guess, exclusive to this particular device. So that's the chop effect. And again, mess around with this. When we play through some drum loops, we'll mess around with this. You can kind of see what it is. And then we have a standard delay with a time of feedback, and then a cross stereo ping pong delay, damping, a time offset, tempo sync. So you can a lot of different options with basic delay there. We also have a reverb, same thing. We have a different medium plate, top end, short gated, high and low cut for the reverb, pre-delay, and a decay. So again, pretty straightforward, basic reverb, but lots of options there. Then we also have our compressor. We can send a sidechain signal, and then you can click what drum is actually the source of the sidechain, which is pretty powerful. We have slam mode, which I guess slams the compressor for that kind of hard sound. We have a threshold. So we have an attack, a release, threshold, compress, which is the ratio. So pretty standard, real standard compressor here. But again, you can select a sidechain source. So all these effects are real nice. They're very, very visual. So you can see the compressor. You can see visually what's going on there. You know, your red is attenuation, and then your blue, I guess, is the gain. You know, kind of nice. And then again, you can see the chop. Okay, that's going to get so loud. Oh my God, it's going to get so loud. I got to turn that down. Oh, wow. Okay, so basically, you kind of see, you know, the effects are very, very visual. They're very, very useful. Then, of course, these are, I guess, your return amounts. You can control the overall level of each of these effects. And then you can mix your compressed signal with your clean signal. And then, of course, a volume control. You can reverb to compressor. You can put the reverb before or after the compressor. Kind of nice. You have a couple of LFOs, so you can modulate any parameter on the particular, I'm going to call it a synth or a drum unit. And then we have a little modulation matrix, kind of cute. And then you have a couple of CV on the back. You can use those as a modulation source. And then just your usual, just 6 slots in the modulation matrix, just a cute little matrix there. Then you have 2 LFOs, so you can modulate any parameter on the synth that way. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you flip it around, you can see that we have a gate input and output for each individual drum pad, as well as a stereo output for each individual drum pad. We have a couple of two CV ins, which can be routed using the modulation matrix, so you can have some CV input. Then we also have a compressor, a sidechain in, so you can use other sources to sidechain the compressor, and then you also have your direct out from your compressor. So yeah, pretty useful. Again, this is a device created by Propellerhead. It's in the Propellerhead web shop. It's $100, which is, I don't know. The thing is here, how I feel about rack extensions right now is paying $100 for a rack extension kind of seems crazy when, the fact that you can use VSTs now in Propellerhead Reason is pretty awesome. There is a million different options as far as getting your drum sounds into Propellerhead Reason, and also as far as programming your drum sounds. Ultimately, they want you to use this with the player, with the drum sequencer here, which is cool, I guess. I mean, this drum sequencer, it's such a. I mean, I don't mean to be like a dick or anything. It just seems like this is just a really, really ugly combination. I mean, it just, these players are just hideous. I don't know why they're so ugly like that, Anyway, enough about all that. Well, let's go ahead and move this back so you can see what's going on. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's it. It's basically 8 drum pads, and then you have an individual high and low cut filter, individual bit crusher. You have individual controls and envelopes for each individual sample. You can record your own samples. You can edit the existing samples. You can send them to these global effects. The chop effect, which is a kind of a different effect, kind of a delay combined with a reverb. I don't know what this chop effect is. Let's go ahead and play that a little bit. Basically, you have all these global effects. You have your chop effect, your delay, and then your reverb effect. And then we also have a compressor, so you can do kind of New York or parallel compression type thing. As far as having a system where everything you need is right there, I mean, everything is right here that you need to get your drum sound, and it comes with tons of kits and tons of sounds, and I mean it's a nice it's a nice package. It's a nice package. It's to me it's a little toyish looking. It's a little bit more sophisticated than some stuff, but it still is it's definitely better looking than the damn drum sequencer, the player, But the thing is, it's an all-in-one sound, and the idea that you can parallel all this stuff and use send effects, send and return, as opposed to just using all these inserts, makes it so you can really get a nice sounding, smooth drum sound out of this thing. I mean, at first I didn't like this thing at all, but after playing with it and putting some rhythms through here, I actually realized that it's a pretty nice system. Let's go ahead and play some rhythms through here, and we'll see what we got here. Something that I kind of do like about this is you can find a drum loop that's really working for you and then just change individual parts using this arrow up and down, which is pretty unique. The fact that you can, the parts that you like, you can stay, you can kind of switch stuff in and out to try to get the ultimate drum loop for your MIDI. Yeah, pretty cool plugin. Like I say, at first I didn't really like this thing. I'm still not very excited about $100. I'm not going to buy this thing. I mean, $100 is just kind of a... When you have the VST availability and you have, the restrictions of an actual rack extension, I mean, it's... Granted, you can route it on the back, but, you are confined to the UI. You are confined to certain things that you're not confined to as far as VSTs. I just think that rack extensions should top out at like $50. I mean, paying $100 for a rack extension just seems kind of hideous with all the other options available for drum sounds, But I do like the thing, and it is a good way to get a cohesive drum loop, because it does have a lot of options as far as, using parallel compression, using send and return effects, and using, having a clean and a compressed signal, and then having a return. Controlling, it's a good way to really blend your drum sound together, and it's a quick way to pull in your samples and quickly manipulate them to get them to fit in with the rest of the drum pattern is basically what it's at, But then, of course, you have those same kind of options with the Kong over here, So it's kind of like, depends on the way you like to do stuff. The way I look at it, the Kong was free, It comes with Propellerhead Reason. And the thing that I love about the Kong is stuff like the drum assignment. I love having the MIDI data in there. The MIDI data is actually on the track and being able to, control your drum assignment from right up here. In other words, why move any MIDI notes? Just put it in the first 4 lanes and then alter your drum assignment. That is really cool. But feeding your MIDI through the umph and then adjusting parameters, you get stuff you're not expecting to get, stuff you wouldn't get with the Kong or the Reed drum. And so this umph to me has a way of really kind of inventing sounds as you make adjustments to the samples. So in that way, it's very unique and very cool. Not excited at all about the $100 price tag. And like I say, I'm probably not going to buy this. That's just too much money for a rack extension, especially now that we have the ability to use VSTs when there's other DAWs available. And to me, Propellerhead right now is not like kind of my number one DAW right now. I've been more into Bitwig lately just because it's more along my lines as far as workflow and stuff. But let me tell you, the umph, at first I didn't like it. After playing with it, it's a pretty cool little device. Again, the whole idea of having everything you need all in one package as far as getting a drum sound, you have all the effects in here. And then, of course, you can use external effects. So anyway, check it out. It's the umph. It's $99 in the rack extension shop right now. And in the meantime, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Chill Computer Guy. We're going to have some more product reviews coming up. We're also going to have some Bitwig tutorials. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you want to see, what rack extension and whatnot you want to have reviewed. Tell a friend about the channel. Remember, it's not for beginners or experts. It's for everybody. And we'll see you guys again. Bye-bye now.